Hello world, this is Shruti Pandey, and today I have with me Mahesh, who is the founder of the Test Tribe community. And I'm so happy that I have him on my podcast because it's like jab we met for two testers when we meet. And I have a common thing with him because he's also a tester. I'm also a tester. And we took some different crazy routes on our way. I took solutions engineering, he came into community building, and I feel very happy and proud of him because he's taking testing and testers to places. So thank you so much, Mahesh, and thank you so much for giving me your precious time.
Thanks to you, Shruti, for inviting and congratulations on starting this new initiative, something which is very special to you now, which I understand. And I think the questions which you asked, right? Like I saw the couple of episodes when you sent the link, and I like the questions which you asked plus the format. So okay, let's do it. Thanks for inviting. It's my pleasure to be here.
No wasting time, true tester, right? Yeah, I'll start with my questions, and I'm looking forward to this. My first question for you is, how did leaving a full-time testing job for a community happen? How did leaving a full-time testing job for a community happen? मतलब I'm probably trying to even ask you, like, are you a rich man? ऐसे कैसे कर लिया आपने?
Okay, I got the question now. The answer might be very big, but let me just
Okay.
summarize it well. uh, so if you see the pattern, right, like we probably discussed that in when the test drive was started back in 2018, in initial 6 months I had realized that this is something which is no more experiment now, which we had started as experiment because nothing else was happening in Mumbai, and we started because nothing was happening which we could go and attend. It was a very good option for lazy people, right? Like you don't have to do anything. But if no one is doing it to the level and scale and to the style we want, then we thought, okay, let's do it. So it was an experiment to start with, but 6 months down the line we had realized that it's not an experiment. Those random messages at 11 p.m, 2 a.m, 1 a.m, where people, okay, they just felt like they can ask me something, or share something, their victory, uh, their struggle or some tragedy, anything which is there. It is very special that you are sharing something with a stranger. And then I realized it's not an experiment, it's a sense of responsibility, and definitely something which we keep on saying, right? Okay, what's your purpose, what's your calling?
Yeah.
And then I realized that, okay, it is something which I want to explore. So it was clear from the initial 6 months that someday I want to go full time. So to answer your question, no, it wasn't like, okay, very quick jump, okay, we have like money on the table and let's move types. So it was proper 3 years of slogging, right, on both the fronts, and making sure that that guilt doesn't come, that because you are doing something as a passion project, you are compromising on your actual full-time job. So that was very tricky part for me, because even if there is like 1 hour on a particular day where I'm not fully focused at work, I used to feel it, and then that guilt used to come, and then I had to balance it well. So the 3 years were like, okay, no compromise on either front. And not to boast, but like I don't remember any weekend unless I'm out of station that I did not work on the test drive, like almost entire days. So it was a lot of work for all the 3 years, but not, the good part was it wasn't like no one was forcing it. It was something which was coming naturally and something I was enjoying. And yeah, to figure out stuff to create that cushion, to create that safety, the needed safety, not a lot of safety, because as we spoke before the interview started, right? Like we belong to a certain income class, and that's what we want to change as well. And that we want to change it for ourselves, and want to change it for other people whom we can help eventually. So yeah, so good 3 years it took, and eventually when the time was right, the time was before, actually it was supposed to happen during 2020 possibly, but COVID kicked in, and then as it happened, right, for everyone, things had to change. But it helped as well on a lot of front, as you saw the entire journey yourself. It helped us realize that the problems we are trying to solve are no more India specific. These are pretty much global problems, and we have to serve anyone in the world who really is looking for the help, right, in the testing. And so that helped us broaden our vision, and think of a bigger problem. So I think the time is right, like when you look back, the dots connect. And last year, January is when I resigned, and then April is when this entire thing started as a full-time thing. I think the timing was perfect overall. Now it all makes sense, like why it was delayed and all that.
Somehow I feel the timing of this interview is also perfect because it's like 1 year, and congratulations on the anniversary of the community, because
Thank you.
I could genuinely see and feel your entire journey when you were answering the question, right? And most importantly, I want people to understand, whoever would be watching this and looking up to you as inspiration, because all of us come from a certain background of families where we always think about the salary which needs to be coming every month, and then we have our calling or passion where we want to give something to the community, to the fraternity, to our testing job or whatever that might be. And it takes so much courage. And I also understand your guilt part when you are like, okay, I'm doing this, my side hustle or something for fun, but what about my main thing? And I never really expected that from you, but I can totally relate the guilt part also when you're like, okay, I want to give my 100% to everything. It's so difficult.
Yeah, and especially because that's the only job I did. That job gave me a lot, right? Like I started in 2010, and that's the only job I did for a decade. And I learned a lot of things, or almost most of the things there, directly and indirectly.
Yes.
So it made perfect sense to make sure that that line is always there, and that commitment is always there, to not compromise there, because you found something which will stick with you for a longer period of time in coming years. So that was a very tricky part, balancing the time plus the productivity plus the guilt. But yeah, I think I did decent overall.
You did well. You did so well, really. So my second question for you is, nobody sees that you were actually building a community long back. Tell us more about your Zycus experience, which actually helped you to shape the full-time community thing. Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I got the gist of it. Uh, so communities, as a concept, or community as a word, if you see, it became a buzzword very recently.
Mhm.
It was not like that, that okay, maybe 5 years 5 years behind, or 6 years behind. It wasn't like, okay, a very cool thing to do. And same is the case with you. Like I won't, it would be a lie if I say that okay, we had figured out that okay, we are putting out a community in 2018, and we knew what the community is and things like that. No, it all started, as I told you, like it all started as an experiment. Okay, no one else is doing something in the city, let's do it. Now while doing it, let's say you want to put a meetup or an event. Now you need a name for it, right?
Mhm.
Okay, you need identity, and that's how we created identity ourselves. We created the logo ourselves, we created the website ourselves, we figured out the stack which is to be used. And I had, like, I was fortunate to have a very passionate set of juniors with me in Zycus. A lot of them, still work with me. And we just figured out one thing at a time. And then we thought, okay, now seeing the demand, while we were sure that, okay, this goes into the community category, it was something which, it was reactive, I would say. The true understanding of what community is, what is the sense of belonging, and what kind of responsibilities you have, what you can really call a community, what is not a community. Yes, sub understanding, it came eventually. But in my Zycus experience, I was doing something like that, which I was just not knowing that it's a community building. So even now, I think, the Facebook page is still there. We had this unit called Zy Call Squad. So ZY Call Squad. This was my team across Mumbai, Pune, and Bangalore. And this was a crazy unit. So we had this Facebook page where we used to post. We had a Slack, which was obviously for work discussions as well, but this was only for our team. This wasn't in the rest of the organization. And then there was a lot of fun part. We used to meet every Wednesday for 2.5 hours, and that, like, everyone knew, everyone in the leadership knew what we meet every Wednesday. We don't keep any work for those 2.5 hours. We do workshops, sessions, games. We played a lot of games, and I think Mafia was the most popular. If you have seen, you can try it out maybe. So Mafia was the most popular, and then we used to go out, then discuss the latest trends. So all sort of community things were happening there. It just that I wasn't knowing it's called community building.
Yeah.
So in a way, the template was there, that sense of belonging, how to create that sense of belonging within the team. And then, testers from other teams, they used to feel and they used to openly convey that we also want to be part of such things and, switch to this team and things like that.
Yeah.
So the template was in head, but the scale was very different because that was my comfort zone, right? Like that is a company I started with my career, and it is something I knew everyone. Like I knew the leadership. I know, like, what is the culture. I know if I put an idea, it will be considered and things like that. That compared to putting the same template out there in public was totally different, and it was scary, to be honest. Because I remember the first meetup we did, we never knew there is a thing. There are things like drop rate and all. So there were 44 registrations, and actually, apart from our team, only 4 made to the venue. Because we did not send reminders, we did not call them or anything, because we were not aware कि ऐसे events किए जाते हैं. So all that was scary. It wasn't like, okay, we had figured it out and it was like super smooth. So that meetup experience was very different. While I was interacting with people inside, and I could see the rest of the team, from the glass window, that they're calling up people live, like, okay, are you coming, like that. And but then we realized, okay, we were 9 people eventually, but the kind of interactions and enjoyment we 9 had there talking to each other, that was amazing. And then those are the moments which tell you, right, okay, you are doing the right thing. So that meetup, and then eventually the hackathon, which was a big hit, and like 118 people possibly under one roof in 91 Springboard BKC. That was something which we had not seen before, a testing hackathon, and that too, such a response.
Oh, yes.
So that actually made, a lot of sense, and it helped us realize what is community, how you do things, how you keep people, posted, how you keep them updated, how do you help them develop that sense of belonging, because that word I'm talking again and again, because that is the community.
Exactly.
When there is a sense of belonging. Otherwise, it is just the curation where you're putting up people together. So that goes in a different fashion. So it was all reactive, but yeah, that experience, that template helped me a lot, I would say.
I mean, you reminded me of something which I think we spoke of like maybe a year back or sometime when I have seen you in action, and I also understand, because when I was in like big testing teams, I would want to have the sense of belonging with the team and for the team, like vice versa, right? You want that the team is coming not just for working, but they're happy doing that, and for most testers that is not the case. So I can totally understand that, and I had no clue that you were building a community or you had a community, because again 2010 and 2011, like we never had the concept of community. Whatever we were doing in testing, we were doing it ourselves, like trying things out, doing the automation ourselves. And I remember 2016 I had come for that testing hackathon. I think it was Bagasur somewhere in Kanjur Marg or someplace. It was like my birthday gift my brother had given me, and my brother had come, and I was in an IC role at JP Morgan at that time. And there was this entire, can I use the word ranty, but in a good way, like an entire ranty crowd of testers. And I'm like, कौन है ये लोग, क्या इन लोगों ने मचा रखा है? And I think you guys had even won, and it was Zycus team, and everybody was Zycus. And I was, what is happening? ये हो क्या रहा है इधर, चल क्या रहा है इधर? And I think we would have seen each other or something, but we had never properly met back.
Possibly.
And that was the first thing which I spoke to you, or maybe the third or fourth thing that I spoke to you when we first spoke, right? Like last year maybe. And I was like, oh, that was your team. I had no idea it was you. So it all
that hackathon also was a great milestone, I would say, right? Because that was a validation, though we did not see the validation, but that was a validation that we were doing something right internally. Because these internal hackathons or bug-a-thons, we used to do, and there was a common understanding that each of us had to help each other, grow, and then eventually see that how we are helping each other. So all that understanding was there. So it was a good validation in that sense to our entire team what we are doing. And it would have I assume that to leadership it would have made more sense that okay, whatever time these people are spending, they're doing something decent.
Right.
Plus the other plus was I met Paras for the first time there, right? So Paras who still works with the test tribe in some or other capacity. So he's kind of a community consultant plus like some event here and there. He's more of an offline person, but yeah, he's still like Signathon, like both Signathon he hosted, and then our other hackathons which we did offline, Mumbai, one in Bangalore, one in Noida. Even he was a routine host, and he's a very good friend now over years. So I met him for the first time, and even for the first hackathon we did, I just called him, let's do it, and he was like, okay, let's try it out, and that is when the entire thing started. So I think a lot of credit and mention has to go to that Bagasura hackathon as well. That is where we saw, okay, such things can happen in our space, right?
Absolutely.
So that was special. And communities, as I said, like they were before as well, right? Like people have done things before, right? It won't be right to say that okay, we are doing it for the first time. People have done it before. The only problem which was true then and which is true now is the scale. Like we just talked before the interview, right? There are millions of testers, and all of us together, all the global communities together, we are still talking about thousands, right? No one knows where the rest people are. They're happy, definitely somewhere taking paychecks, and even otherwise, like they might be also thinking, they might also be searching. Like we searched for a few years, right? So they might be searching as well. It is just that we haven't found them and they haven't found us.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of work to be done on that front, that we take communities to them. It's our duty as well, and then let them decide whether it is helpful to them or not. But yeah, a lot of work to be done.
No, I just got this intention in my heart that I hope whoever you're trying to search for, maybe they look at this. I don't know, and I don't want to take away the credit or boast, but I hope they watch this session and they get enlightened or awakened in some way to join you, or if not join you, do something which excites them really, right? Because you're definitely right. There's so many people who are wanting to do something and they are in their silos. And I'll tell you something, like just looking on LinkedIn with the different network or people or connects that I've made across the globe, specifically in testers, I'm seeing that since December to now, a lot of them are going in the freelancing mode. So a lot
Yeah.
is changing. There is a lot of paradigm shift, and it's happening, and it is happening very quickly, but people are not seeing. And I'm so happy that it's happening in testing also, like finally, because it's going to revolutionize things.
Even the pay scale, if you notice, sorry to cut you down, but even the pay scale, and that is something, I hope that will help a lot of testers kill that inferiority which they were carrying with them.
Yeah.
That a lot of us are accidental testers, right? Like in my case was different, that I had options, but I still thought, okay, let's try it out, and it worked very well. For many of us, it might have been that okay, they wanted to get into a certain type of job, maybe development, but they eventually got into testing. Yeah. And it's not that they were really attracted to development. The point or the problem was we only knew the development when we were in college, right?
Yeah.
We never knew कि और भी functions होते हैं.
Yeah.
हाँ. So when you only know कि एक ही option है और वो एक option अगर नहीं मिलता, it is very natural to not feel good about it. The problem is carrying that sadness or that guilt for years, and a lot of testers I know have carried that with them. And one of the other factor which even troubled them more was the pay scale gap, right, between the functions. And it was there, it might be still there, but I know enough testers who earn more than whatever are the average bands for the developers. I won't say it's a common thing, but I'm saying like there is no hard thing that it is only one particular way. There are both the examples. Absolutely. Now in last 2 years, the pay scale is changing rapidly, and you would have noticed that people are getting offers which are crazy, which we possibly never heard at that experience. Yeah. So that is also good to see. Not that I'm not endorsing the crazy amount of offer hoarding or the way people are only looking for the pay scale. Okay, whatever is the higher pay scale, I'll go for that. few people are going that way. Few people are being very considerate, and they're considering culture review and things like that. So I'm not endorsing anything, but the enough money or respected money coming to this profession also was a need, because
Yes.
that would set a lot of that would settle a lot of pride issues. I would say people
Yes.
will feel proud about what they're doing. They'll feel better, they'll feel confident, and that is where we also talk about creating prouder, confident and smarter testers. Smarter to banane hai, but uske saath carrying that pride and being confident, because only when you're proud and confident you can really communicate something well, or you can uh, internal to your teams, to your organizations, to the larger groups, you can convey what our craft is.
Yes.
So I think that is also a very good shift apart from the freelancing aspect. You said that it's good to see overall.
No, I remember when I started in 2011, and you're absolutely right. Your own friends, like the same batch who would have graduated with you, they would be on bench for months, and you're working on a project which is given to you by the company. And like for me, it was like that. They gave me testing, and I started working, and they would mock at me, कि testing करती है, ये क्या है? And there came a time when I took stand for myself, where I was like, मैं कुछ तो करती हूँ and maybe मेरे billing से तुम्हारी salary आ रही है. I still remember I said that because I had to take a stand for testing, and I still feel very proud and passionate about testing. And that was the moment which made me realize कि testing को पहले respect चाहिए, पैसा अपने आप आएगा. So when all this respect, community and paisa is coming, right, I feel very happy. I'm like kahin na kahin in some way, I don't know if you, I or somebody else and more testers have contributed to it or not, but I feel very happy. I'm like, finally the dream is coming true. Finally testers are getting respect. Finally they're getting money, because it was overdue. It was really overdue.
Yeah. I think the wake up call worked well more than anything else. The wake up call which the industry gave, right? Because eventually industry is what drives it.
Validation.
If you see the job descriptions these days, like probably 99% or more, they, whether they give you automation profile or not, they are asking you automation knowledge, right? And while again, I'm not endorsing that okay, people run behind automation, but how it worked well is, before that, because testing was always considered okay, very brainial job and something which, if you are a good tester, if you are a good seeker, or you ask good questions, if you have good attention to detail, if you are curious, if you communicate well, you will do decent job in testing. You and a lot of people thought okay, testing is writing test cases and executing. So while in the development the stack kept on changing, and each developer I saw all these years, they were always upskilling themselves. Like JSP was a thing, and suddenly people started talking about PHP. Now PHP was there for a few days, and I think WordPress helped PHP a lot to stay popular. It is still popular, but then now people are talking about Angular, React, JS. Same for backend. Like people are at one time they were talking about .NET, and then they eventually started talking about Java. Java is still a king. But then they'll talk about more and more things. In scripting, there is Python, and there are more things which are coming. Now, what happened with that is they were always on their toes, the devs, and they knew that they had to constantly upskill.
Correct.
And because they were upskilling, everything was working. They were getting new jobs. They were getting exposure to the community. They were, experiencing. Okay, there is a Python community. There is a Java community. Things like that. To us, what happened is okay. It's Brenual, and years and years and years it is same. Unless now the industry started that push. No, if you don't get this particular skill set added, it might be a situation that you become irrelevant. And that push really worked well. A lot of people then finally they woke up and they started learning things. So while the craze behind automation, and that automation will solve everything, that craze I don't like, and that is going to harm. But the side effect which this entire push had, that people finally thought okay, it cannot be that for years it cannot be for years that we do the same thing and we go to the job and we take the paycheck. We have to constantly upskill ourselves. And I think this entire automation push have brought that particular point forward. And now a lot of testers I see, like they are always talking okay, I for example, I know Selenium Java, will it be a future thing as well? Shall I learn TypeScript? Shall I learn JavaScript? Selenium is a thing, or should you talk about Cypress and Playwright? So at least due to this entire craze, there is some fear, I don't know if fear is the right word, but that's working. Yeah, like that's working because people are they're thinking if they are future ready or not, which
Yeah.
I thought was not happening with our people for many
Yeah.
years.
Now it is happening so much that they want to automate everything which they shouldn't be automating. And there are times when you have to bring them back by age old. Like, why are we doing this? Like, I think that's the real nature of a tester, right? We question everything and we'll be like, should we be automating this? Should we not? And okay, I can seriously go on talking with you because it's like two passionate testers talking and just talking about testing. But I'll try to wrap this up with my final question, which
Yeah.
is, what does testing and community have in common?
uh, I think it is understanding people, because even as a testers, we the number of functions we interact with, or we should interact to, right? For example, even if the tester is not a customer facing tester or a customer facing team, still how you should understand your customers, how you should understand your support teams, how they work, and then what kind of help they would appreciate, uh, what kind of communication your dev team expect, what kind of communication and expectations your product team has from you. All this is understanding people well, while it might be common for other functions as well. But because for testing, it is again, as I said, like it's very brainial. You cannot show like, okay, this is a QR code, and if you scan this, you will understand the quality of the product. It cannot be done that way. You can still show the percentage, and you can show the green bar, 99% passing. But still, been I have seen the culture, and I know a lot of companies where it is still needed, and I think it is good that the testers are asked to talk about their experience, or their judgment of the current release or the product, where they just don't talk about the number of test cases. They go beyond that. They tell, okay, this is a risk, this is the good part, this is where we are safe, and this is what we can do, and now you decide.
Correct.
So all this is around communication and understanding people, like what they are expecting. Similar in communities also, it is very common that communities is about people understanding what they want, what kind of solutioning we should be doing, how do we keep them attached to the bigger goal which we as a community have, plus they themselves might be having. And then being ready to help always, right? Like whatever stage they are at, hand holding them if we cannot help, then making sure we redirect them to somewhere, or to someone where they can find that potential help. So I think understanding people is one thing which I top of my mind, which is I think the top common thing across both these things.
Absolutely, it makes perfect sense. And seriously, I don't feel like ending this conversation because there is so much to talk about testing and so much.
And we both can talk at length. So, but yeah,
we can.
better to time box.
Yeah, but better to time box. So, any parting thoughts that you may have, Mahesh, before we wrap up this conversation? This was really beautiful.
Parting thoughts, I think maybe it can be CTA, because anyone who eventually gets the time to watch this or listen this, and they wait till the end, I think if they can tell at least one tester or maybe two testers, and even two developers, anyone in general, in tech, in Web3, right? Like Web3 is all about communities. And in general, if you can tell any professional around you that there is something like community, which would be there, like some community would be there for your function as well, whatever function you are in, and you should explore it. You should just join few and see if you really find it helpful, and if you enjoy the conversations there or being there. I think if that CTA can go and people can really help certain people know that there is something called community out there, it would really be a great. And yes, I have my own bias. So if you can tell certain testers that there is something called community and testing communities you can join, I won't even say that you tell them about the test tribe. It can be, okay, just explore that there are testing communities out there and see where you fit the best. Because I'm sure once we understand the communities, once we understand there is a bigger world, we can observe very closely, and with that we can grow together. I think it makes sense, and it helps on so many levels altogether as a professional. So if few of our audience eventually can do that, I think that would be a great thing.
Yeah.
And another parting thought would be, thanks to you, because I liked the questions, even though there were just three. I think those questions helped us touch very important points which are happening and which have happened. So thanks for that.
The pleasure is all mine. I mean, I wanted to make this, give some knowledge to people, right, who see this. And in case they have those preconceived notions about testing में क्या ही करते हैं लोग, they should understand कि testing में बहुत कुछ करते हैं लोग. And if you do one thing, that is testing right, you learn so many different things, is how I feel. I see myself as the byproduct of doing testing right. Whatever I am today is because of it. So seriously, thank you so much, Mahesh. This conversation was so amazing. And I just have a secret wish, which I feel like telling it out loud today, that the number of different communities that we have in testing, not just in India, but across the globe, I hope someday all these communities just come together and merge into one. Like you guys would be then unstoppable. Like this is one of my secret wishes for the communities that we have at testing, because I'm happy that there are so many of communities coming, and it's needed, right? Sometimes you need that local touch, but I hope someday
Yeah.
it becomes so global in nature that all of them come together and it becomes just massive.
Yeah. And as you said, right, like each small, big global community, each of them has a purpose, each of them has a style. And yeah, as I said, like someone may suit or fit into one community very well, they may not fit that well into the other community. So even having the multiple options is not hurting, as long as people get to know that such things
Yes.
exist.
Yes.
That is also a very important thing. And yes, I appreciate what you are hopeful towards, because I'm sure that will be a lot of power, a lot of execution power, plus a lot of ideation power to do greater things.
We'll be just unstoppable. Like that's my secret wish, and I just said it out loud today. But it is my wish that we become like that, like a global force to reckon with, I guess. Thank you so much, Mahesh. This was really, really amazing, and thank you for your time. Means a lot.
Thanks, Shruti, and thanks for all the amazing questions again, and all the best to what you're doing. I think the speed at which we just talked about the speed right before the interview. So the speed at which you're doing this, I'm sure you're going to help a lot of people.
I hope so. Just fingers crossed. Thank you.
Yes, all the best. All the best. Thanks. We'll stay in touch.